Yes, it's so nice of you to join me again on spiritnow.com. Tonight I want to talk to you about the end of days. There's been so many people that have called our office and are so terribly frightened about the Aztec or Inca calendar that says it's 2012. My take on it is that they ran out of ink. If you really look at all the research that I've done on the book, on the end of days, you'll see how many people have predicted it and how many dates have come and gone. At one point, a religious group said that the world was going to end in 1972. No. Even Isaac Newton said that it was going to end in 2060. Nostradamus, I could go on and on. And then, of course, everyone looks to Revelation or the Apocalypse, depending on what Bible you're reading, as being the end of times. And, the plagues. Well, you could take any period in history and find plagues. Look at the Dark Ages, for instance, during the Renaissance period. 2/3 of Europe was wiped out. To them, that probably was the end of times for them. I do believe, though, and I think this is the operative word, what our Lord said, that no man can predict the end of the world. Now, I think the operative word here is world. I believe, and I could be just as, goofy as some of the other ones, that we have at least 100 years left. And the reason why I believe this is because in all 54 years that I've been doing readings, I have never ever found as many people that are not coming back. It's their last life. 30 years ago when I used to do readings, I never saw that. Another thing that I've found, and if you notice when I've been on Montel or anywhere else, or at lectures, women will get up invariably and ask me, 1 out of 4 at least, or maybe even more, will get up and ask me why they can't have children. Now, see, if anybody's out there that's close to my age, we all just grew up and had kids. And now we have the biggest fertility problem, and I'm convinced that people just don't want to come in anymore. They're just fed up with it, because if you look through history, and you can take this trip with me, and go down history lane, there's been pandemics, there's been wars, there's been all types of horrible things happening, the burning times. Now we have every single horrible thing that you could think of. We have pandemics, we have wars, we have pedophiles, but the upside of this is, please believe me when I tell you, that my spirit guide says that those of us that came down during this period, this time, are probably the ones that want to perfect faster than anybody else. Because how in the world do you perfect fast is when you are in a state of flux. Our economy is horrible. Our banks are folding. Gas prices are terrible. We're in war with Iraq. We have all kinds of different diseases popping up. There isn't anywhere that you look or you read or you watch the news that there isn't some kind of negativity. And rather than sounding so pessimistic, what I've told people in my lectures is get with your own kind spiritually. You know what I mean? Whatever that means to you. Because like I tell everybody, take with you what you want from me and leave the rest. But get with your own kind and just stick together and quit worrying about everything. Because, the human condition is when people are at the worst, they come together. Look at 9/11 or look at the floods. There is such a marvelous coming together that people do. I wish to God we did it more rather than when there is tsunamis and horrible things happen. I always think about that goofy little movie that came out with one of the Bridges boys. It was called Starman. And he made a comment in there that I always remember, and he said, we have never seen anything like human beings. When trouble strikes, you people come together like nothing we've ever seen in the universe. And even though it was a movie, I believe that's true. That when there's great adversity, we do come together and help each other. I remember years ago when I got divorced and I had to move to a tenement with my kids, my 2 sons and a foster daughter. And we really didn't have any money. I mean, I was teaching school, and you know how much that pays. I was so surprised at the people that would come around. I mean, when my youngest son, who's a psychic, as you know, Christopher, had an earache, everybody came and had a remedy. If somebody lost their dog, everybody came and helped. If you didn't have enough food, everybody came over and had a potluck. That's what we should do all the time, not just when trouble strikes. So, you know, you can sit around and worry about the end of days, but okay, let's say hypothetically, just for the sake of, let's say hypothetically, that this would be the end of days. What would be so horribly wrong with that? The worst thing is the tunnel would be crowded. Everybody would want to go. I know I, with my patients, would be saying, would you please move? Would you just go? No. You see, this is the world of a fake facade. This is only a world we're renting. This is only a body I'm renting. Thank God. When we go through the tunnel, we all become 30. We all go to the other side. See, we have it all, as my grandmother used to say, bass backwards. When we come into life, we die. When we go back to the other side, we go into life. I think when I told Montel that on his show, I think he almost flipped out, because I said to him at the time that we're ghosts in their world, because we're populated by all your loved ones all around us. They're only 3 feet up off the ground, and the topography is the same. If you read my book, Temples, they have beautiful temples there where you go and you view your life, the Hall of Wisdom, or the Temple of Wisdom. Then you go to the Temple of Justice and you figure out whether you want to come back or not. And also over there, when you go over there, you all have your own occupation. Some people are lecturers, some people are writers, some people do aesthetics, some people do research, some people do scientific projects. Wouldn't it be terrible to think that all you did was float around on a stupid cloud with a harp? How depressing would that be? And not only that, but all of your loved ones are waiting for you, besides your pets. Because I do have another book coming out called All Pets Go to Heaven. Of course, I wouldn't want to go if my pets weren't there. Because to tell you the truth, I've liked some of my pets better than I have some people I've met in life. But that's the worst that would happen. And I think the more spiritual you get, because like I've said before on this show, the last time, and even on television, the veil is thinning. You remember, I'm sure, those of you that have seen me on television even 17 years ago or 18 years ago, or when I was on AMLA or People Are Talking, because I've been on television for now something like 35 years. People never got up and asked about ghosts and their loved ones and what their themes were and what their purpose was and did they have angels around them. And see, the more you believe, the more the veil thins. And that's why eventually when we do get ready to go, it's going to be so easy for us to just cross over the line. This last year, we had 4 ministers that passed over, which was really hard because they've been with us a long time. And every single one of them, I swear to you, that they found had their hands crossed across their chest and they just went right out. That was how easy it was. And you know why that is? Because they knew where they were going. So, you know, you can sit around and worry about the end of time, the end of days, and what's going to happen. No. And let me tell you something else. And this is the God's truth if you look for it and you don't become a martyr or a victim, is out of every bad thing comes a good thing. Every bad thing comes a good thing. But you know what happens? People get so wound up in their abuse and how they've been treated, they don't think about the good things. Let me tell you something that happened to me recently, and I don't want you to go, oh, it's a shame. No. I started noticing that my eyes were getting better, because of course I still have to use them to read, glasses. But I used to always have to wear contacts or glasses. And most of the time when I was on TV, I wore contacts. And one day I noticed that my eyes were getting so much better, I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, I have heard in rare cases as you get older, your eyesight gets better. I don't know what I was doing, but I think I was blinking or something. I winked at somebody, and when I did that, I said to myself, oh my God, I'm blind in my right eye. So I immediately went to the doctor, and he said, yeah, you are. Duh. And I remember that the summer right before this, I had been on a boat with my son, Christopher, and a big ski, what they call a big ski thing, I don't know what it is, board came and flipped around and hit me right in the corner of the eye here. And of course I had this big whelp and my grandkids were just going crazy, so I acted like it really didn't hurt me. So I asked the doctor if this could have caused it, and he said he didn't know. But anyway, all he did know was that I was blind in my right eye. But here's what's amazing is my left eye became 20/20, so I hadn't even noticed it. Now, even at that, though, it's not fun to find out that you're blind in one eye. And he gave me some kind of shot, I don't know. But anyway, I went with my older son to this jewelry store because he was getting a ring for his fiancée that he's going to get married in September. So I went with him, and I certainly didn't feel like anything. I looked like hell, pardon the expression. And all of a sudden I saw this man behind the counter that was very attractive. And so 6 months from that time, I've been dating this wonderful man. So, and people will say this to you, which makes me so, God giveth and God taketh away. No. You write this stuff in your chart rather than beating your chest and walking around crying and say, oh my God, I've lost the sight in one eye. Why don't you look at the situation that happened right after that? The very day I found out that my eyesight was the very day that I met this wonderful man that I'm still with. Which, of course, I promised everybody I wasn't going to get involved with anybody. But that, whenever my grandmother used to say, whenever you say never, that's when it happens. But look at the good side of life. There's so much to be grateful for. Yes, gas prices are terrible. Yes, the economy is lousy. But let me tell you this, and I can tell you this psychically, you're going to see after election year and in the spring, things are going to start coming back. If any of you are out there that are old enough, or you can tell your younger people, that every election year has been lousy. Every election year has always been strained. But we're going to see in around April and May, housing will come back. Prices in gas will stay steady and then begin a slow decline in the summer. So don't lose your enthusiasm about life. They've been $5 a liter, not a gallon, a liter in Europe for as long as I can remember. I mean, I went there, 30, 40 years ago, and it was like that. So that doesn't mean it's any better for us, but all you do is you budget, you cut back, and maybe you find other things. Maybe you find being with your family is more fun than just sitting and watching TV or having to go somewhere. Find things to do out in the backyard and quit worrying about this stupid end of the world. There is no comet going to hit us. There is no dragon coming up out of the water that's going to eat us. That's crazy. for your information, and you can actually look this up, because I say to people, don't just listen to what I say, research it. In the Apocalypse or Revelation, that book was stuck on 300 years when the Bible was already. This book was written by a felon that was relegated to exile in Patmos. He wrote 8 letters to 8 bishops, telling them how terrible the Roman Empire was. So he was doing a political treatment of the day. And we've carried that down for 2,000 years, saying, it fits. No, it's just like 666 was Nero's address. Not some devil that's going to come out of the water and eat you and chew you up and throw you in a pit of fire. We don't have to worry about devils. We have too many bad people running around in the world. Take Saddam Hussein or Osama bin Laden or Hitler, or, we've got enough of those. We don't need somebody in a red suit with horns. And I think it's terrible, too, in many ways, that people have used that, the Apocalypse and Revelations as the end of times, the rapture. Look at what happened to Jim Jones, and that's why I always, please listen to me, my dear friends, don't get involved with any group that tells you what to do and how to live and how to, what to wear, how to live your life. No, because then we'll all be drinking Kool-Aid again. No. And don't join compounds and things like that. No. Because, our Lord said, within every man is his own temple. So rather than walking around thinking that this is going to be the end of times, think about living each day to the fullest and how much good you can do. Because people have always been afraid of death. And you know why they're afraid of death. All these years, I know that I know about it. Because I've been with so many that have died. People are afraid of annihilation, which means they're afraid they will not exist after this. And of course, that's ridiculous. Or they're afraid of how they'll die. The more spiritual you are, and you know what spirituality means, like I've said so many times in my book, means love God, do good, and then shut up and go home. That's all it means. That's all you have to do. People say, that's too easy. No, it's not. Every single day of your life, you should do one good act for someone. Maybe call someone that's sick. Maybe go visit somebody. Do you know how many days we sit around on our, and just stare at television or just stare out the window and we don't do anything, where we could be taking that 15, 20 minutes to go visit a neighbor or to take something to somebody who's ill or to volunteer somewhere. It doesn't take any time, and it makes you feel better too. Not only that, but to get your blood moving. So instead of listening to all these people, and they quote Nostradamus, and not that I don't think that he was a great prophet in many ways. No, he never gave us a specific date. Do your research. And Isaac Newton, who was a scientist, said 2060. And of course, as 2012 comes around, people are getting more and more nervous. Because, we're talking about, 3 or 4 years? No. Don't worry about that. You're not going to go in 2012. There's not going to be an end to this world. And of course, there's a warming trend. When I go to Alaska, I can see the giant glaciers calving, what they call calving. They fall into the water. There's no doubt about that. But like my guide says, eventually it will repair itself. It's sort of like a pantyhose that's been ripped across. You know what I mean? And she says, I'm sure they won't like this that much, but she says one of the main problems is the rockets going up burns off the ozone layer. So when they stop doing a lot of that, and we stop using all this energy, I think maybe it's the best thing in the world that the gas prices have come up, because maybe that'll make people start taking notice, and we don't need all this exhaust in the air. what did people used to do? Horse and buggy, or whatever. And I do think they're going to find another form of, fuel for our cars, whether it's corn, whether it's some kind of vegetable oil, whether it's a plug-in, but flow with it. If you really get to the point that you can say, and trust me when I tell you, it takes a lot, and I have to keep reminding myself, if you keep saying to yourself, let God and let go, you'll be tremendously surprised at how everything comes full circle around towards you.